Hello and welcome to News at 6. I am Vishal Dahiya. Let's take a look at the headlines first. India and Cyprus agree on need for all countries to act decisively against nations that sustain terrorism. Both nations signed 4 agreements on cooperation in various fields. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley promises there will be no surprises in tax rates fixed under the goods and service tax regime. Assures that rates will not be significantly different from existing levels. Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari addresses students of University of Warsaw, says imperative test of a true democracy lies in how it protects and respects the rights of minorities. And US President Donald Trump acts on his commitment to make partner nations share their defense costs, asks for South Korea to pay $1 billion for the missile shield deployed near Seoul. Let's now take a look at the news in detail. Cyprus, the strategically located country near the Middle East, has promised to work with India on all international forums to fight the menace of international terrorism. The former Greek colony that lies near Syria and Turkey will strengthen relationship with India for trade and economy, including cooperation on strategic issues. Here's more from the summit-level meeting held between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Cyprus's president.
Visiting Cyprus President Nikos Anastasiadis and Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Hyderabad House on Friday. Both leaders agreed on the need for all countries to act decisively against nations that sustain terrorism.
The threat that terrorism poses to the global peace and stability. India itself has been battling cross-border terrorism for decades. We agreed that there is an urgent need for all countries to decisively act against those states who generate, support, shelter, and sustain these factories of violence in our regions.
Noted earlier, are like-minded countries, and we will continue to promote our cooperation in order to contribute to stability, prosperity and security in the world. In this context, we exchange views on developments in our respective regions and on international issues of common interest and concern, such as migration and conflict resolutions.
India and Cyprus signed 4 agreements, including cooperation in merchant shipping, air services, agriculture and culture, and scientific education. They also agreed on the need for early reforms of the United Nations Security Council. Prime Minister Modi also appreciated the support of Cyprus has given for India's bid for the permanent membership at the UN Security Council.
Both of us believe that a reformed Security Council, reflective of the world as it is and not as it was, is necessary to address the range of complex challenges facing the world today.
These agreements further enhance the long-standing relations between our two countries and add to extensive existing legal framework, which includes 16 existing bilateral agreements and memoranda of understanding.
With a foreign direct investment above $8.5 billion, Cyprus is the 8th largest foreign investor in India. It has invested in areas such as finance leasing, stock exchange, manufacturing industries, real estate, construction, shipping and logistics. President Anastasiadis also affirmed his stand to help India to facilitate the free trade agreement with the European Union.
Cyprus is a firm supporter of the enhancement of the EU-India strategic partnership and dynamic cooperation in all areas of mutual interest. In this context, I express our sincere support for tangible progress in the negotiations for the conclusion of an EU-India free trade agreement.
On Friday, President Nikos Anastasiadis met External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj to discuss areas of bilateral cooperation. He was accorded a ceremonial welcome by President Pranab Mukherjee and Prime Minister Modi at Rashtrapati Bhavan. Regional issues of Cyprus also figured in the talks with its president. Interestingly, Indian leaders will also hold talks with Erdogan, the president of its largest neighbor, Turkey, next week at a summit-level meeting.
Given the fact that Turkey's president is also coming to India next week, it is understood that India will try to find some midway between Cyprus and Turkey, and it will be a major diplomatic initiative of India in that region. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person D.K. Pandey in Delhi.
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley today said the government is in the final process of fixing tariffs of various commodities under the Goods and Services Tax regime. However, he also mentioned that the new taxes will not be significantly different from the current levels. The government has set the target for the new tax regime to roll out by 1st of July 2017.
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley on Friday promised that there will be no surprises in the tax rates fixed under the Goods and Service Tax regime. He also assured the annual meeting of the Confederation of Indian Industries that the GST process is in its final stages. Jaitley asserted that the tax rates will not be significantly different from existing levels.
We are now in the final stages of fixing tariffs per commodity. The formula under which it is to be done has also been explained, and therefore nobody really is going to be taken by surprise. It's not going to be very significantly different.
Jaitley insisted that the benefits of low taxes must be passed to consumers at large. Pitching the need to widen the tax net, he said tough steps are necessary to make India a tax-compliant society. The GST Council, headed by Jaitley, is slated to meet next month to finalize tax rates for different goods and services.
Profit is not a bad word. Profiteering is not a bad word. But unfair enrichment is. And therefore the benefit of a reduced taxation is a benefit which the consumers are entitled to.
The finance minister also spoke on the ongoing tussle between the government and the Supreme Court over Aadhaar, saying the unique identity will be the most preferred way to move forward in the world. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Tributes were paid to Captain Ayush Yadav, Nayak Venkata Ramanna and Subedar Bhoop Singh, who were cremated with full state honours. The three brave hearts on Thursday made the supreme sacrifice for the country when terrorists ambushed the Panchkam camp near Chaukibal in Kupwara district. 7 other soldiers were injured. 2 terrorists were killed in the attack. Vice Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Sharath Chand, also paid his tributes to the martyrs in the capital. A special court on Friday remanded 2-day police custody to an alleged Hawala operator in connection with the Election Commission bribery case involving TTV Dinakaran. The court also sent alleged middleman Sukesh Chandrasekhar to 14 days of judicial custody. Earlier in the day, the Delhi police arrested Naresh Jain, a Hawala operator and another person in the case. Jain had allegedly helped middleman Sukesh Chandrasekhar in transforming the money. Chandrasekhar had allegedly offered money on behalf of TTV Dinakaran to the Election Commission to get AIA-DMK's 2 leaves symbol. Police also conducted raids at the residences of AIA-DMK Amma faction Dinakaran and that of his associate Mallikarjuna in Chennai. Let's now take a look at what else is making news across the country in Nationwide. Malegaon blast accused Shrikant Purohit moved the Supreme Court against the Bombay High Court order rejecting his bail plea in the case. The court, however, said the petition will come up in regular course instead of an urgent hearing. Co-accused Sadhvi Pragya Singh Thakur was granted bail in March. Kashmiri security forces on Friday foiled an attempt by militants to rob a bank in Anantnag district. The CRPF personnel immediately overpowered one terrorist and arrested him, while the other terrorist managed to escape. One CRPF personnel also sustained a bullet injury. The Tamil Nadu government on Friday conveyed to the Supreme Court that no farmer has committed suicide in the state. The government also told the top court that drought is not the reason for farmer suicides. This comes after an NGO had moved the apex court, pointing to the increasing cases of farmer suicides in the state. Social networking site Facebook assured the Supreme Court on Friday that users can quit the platform if they find the new privacy policy linked with WhatsApp unacceptable. Facebook did assure the top court that messages and voice calls over the platform end-to-end encrypted that ensured complete privacy. The court, however, fixed 15th of May for preliminary hearing on the matter. Let's take a short break here.
Hello and welcome to Sabha TV. I'm Amritanshu Rai and you're watching Constitutionally Yours.
Large number of people from this backward caste have received education.
There is a provision in the Constitution for providing a reservation to the caste.
Methodology of reservation on caste basis is a fundamental thing.
Reservation on the basis of caste has reinforced caste consciousness among citizens.
A performance audit, including of the reservation process.
Watch Constitutionally Yours on Rajya Sabha television.
कोरियाई प्रायद्वीप में तनाव, ट्रंप ने दक्षिण कोरिया को दी चेतावनी, जताई बड़ी लड़ाई की आशंका। देखिए पहली खबर, ट्रंप की चेतावनी, शाम 7 बजे।
Welcome back. Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari addressed the students of University of Warsaw on Friday on 7 decades of Indian democracy. Ansari asserted that an imperative test of a true democracy lies in how it protects and respects the rights of minorities. He further added that democracy can only flourish when divergent voices can be freely heard without the fear of a backlash.
My name is Jason and I'm from Hong Kong.
Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari addressed the students of the University of Warsaw on Thursday. He noted that for the last 70 years, Indian democracy worked to the best of its capacity, although not yet to the best of its ability. He added that despite its success, there are many challenges in deepening and consolidating democracy.
Democracy is a self-correcting and self-improving mechanism. The solution to addressing the gaps and failings of democracy is indeed more democracy. It is when democracy stops working, when conflicts are not peacefully resolved, that violent separatist movements and religious conflicts emerge.
The Vice President underlined that India is a plural society of immense diversity with different social, religious, cultural and linguistic expressions. And in such diversity, tensions are unavoidable, and at times they escalate into conflict.
These are often local and transitory, and the same allegedly democratic process that generates them also helps resolve them in good measure. Public awareness, avoidance of extremist postures, and prompt corrective action by the administration assists the process. Absence of these, for whatever reason, aggravates them and causes damage to the social fabric.
The Vice President also praised the constitutional mechanisms that have maintained the democratic form in India. He highlighted that periodic elections, an independent election commission and an independent judiciary with sweeping powers of judicial review have helped foster a culture of democracy in India.
Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari enunciated that democracy has been the harbinger of social empowerment in India. He also exuded confidence that as long as ordinary Indians hold the true values of democracy and cultural practices of syncretism, Indian democracy shall continue to thrive and inspire others. Reporting from Warsaw with camera persons Sanjay and Anirban and with inputs from Amrita Rai, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
We're now joined by our correspondent Kriti Mishra on the phone line from Warsaw in Poland. Kriti, we all heard how the Vice President has praised the Indian democracy, the robust constitutional mechanism we have out here. But apart from that, what are the important takeaways from the Vice President's trip to Poland, and earlier he was in Armenia as well?
Right, Michelle. So Vice President Hamid Ansari will conclude 5-day visit to Armenia and Poland now. In Armenia, remember, India signed 3 agreements in culture, youth affairs and outer space. In the second leg of Vice President's journey, India and Poland decided to step up cooperation in agriculture and signed a MOU. Poland has corroborated India at several multilateral forums. Remember, in fact, India has supported, appreciated Poland for its cooperation on missile technology control regime. In fact, Poland has also reassured India of its support for India's bid for membership of the elite nuclear suppliers group and expanded United Nations Security Council. And today, Vice President also addressed the students of University of Warsaw, where he dilated on Indian democracy through the prism of economics. And he said that operation of democracy ensures that we have financial inclusion. He very unequivocally said that a majority, no matter how overwhelming, does not invalidate opposition. Vishal?
Okay, thank you so much, Kriti. So finally, the 5-day-long trip of the Vice President to Armenia and Poland will come to an end with a lot of takeaways. Let's move on to the next story. Ties between the United States and South Korea seem to be on shaky ground, with US President Donald Trump calling on its ally to pay $1 billion for the anti-missile system. With this, Trump has sparked heated reactions in South Korea, considering that it essentially means that his country's military support will come at a huge price. Trump also reiterated that a major conflict with North Korea was possible in the standoff over its nuclear and missile programs, even though the United States prefers a diplomatic outcome to this dispute.
US President Donald Trump has called for South Korea to pay $1 billion for the THAAD missile shield deployed near Seoul. Trump's remarks are the clearest signal yet that he will materialize his commitment to having allies by calling partners to pay for what he has called a fair share of defense costs.
So, I informed South Korea that it would be appropriate if they paid. Nobody's going to do that. Why are we paying $1 billion? It's a $1 billion system. It's phenomenal. It's the most incredible equipment you've ever seen. It shoots missiles right out of the sky. And it protects. I want to protect them. We're going to protect them. But they should pay for that, and they understand that.
Seoul has refuted the argument, saying the deployment plan was already settled in line with the South Korea-US Status of Forces Agreement. This agreement governs the legal status of some 28,500 US troops stationed in South Korea. To ensure a payment from South Korea, however, Donald Trump has threatened to renegotiate or even terminate the free trade agreement between the two countries. Meanwhile, Russia has said it will retaliate to any threat coming from Washington. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said deployment of THAAD in South Korea was an extremely destabilizing move that would only plunge the Korean Peninsula and the entire East Asia into a catastrophic scenario. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The Korean crisis is just one of the many challenges Trump has faced in nearly 100 days in office. He marks the crucial milestone on Saturday, and reactions across the United States and the world seem mixed. Approval ratings for the US president is at a low 32% among young Americans. Here is a look at some of the controversial decisions and how a few of them backfired as well.
The 100 days of an American president's term traditionally marks the end of the honeymoon period, a time to take stock of early achievements, launch new legislations, and set a new direction. But the scorecard for Donald Trump's first 100 days does not read well. Approval ratings for Trump is at a low of 32% among young Americans, and just 46% of Americans feel he has lived up to his campaign promises.
What's on his plate? He knows what, his expectations have been somewhat managed as far as what he thought taking that office was going to be like and what it is in actual reality. But the things that are on his plate today might change overnight tomorrow as far as, some issues that he has to address.
One of the issues he has successfully addressed just before the 100-day mark was taxes. Trump proposed deep tax cuts for many businesses, though the one-page plan offered no detail on how it would be paid for without increasing the deficit.
We are going to cut taxes and simplify the tax code by taking the current 7 tax brackets we have today and reducing them to only 3 brackets: a 10% bracket, a 25% bracket, and a 35% bracket.
When Trump was elected in November, Republican lawmakers joined his call to dismantle Obamacare in the first 100 days of his presidency. But Trump's attempt to do so ended in an embarrassing collapse in Congress. So did his funding request for a U.S. border wall with Mexico. He faced further embarrassment when a few courts thwarted his orders to ban foreign nationals from several mainly Muslim countries.
People feel the current administration is not reflecting the American values that people fled countries to come in and live under. So that been the general sentiment and disappointment to the American values that everyone respects.
India too has faced some worry. First, when Trump gave sweeping powers to security forces to check illegal immigrants, and recently a proposal to tighten H-1B visa rules. Details are still sketchy, and India is constantly in touch with US authorities. On the moral front as well, Trump faced backlash globally when he retaliated to the deadly April 4th chemical attack in Syria with a direct missile strike on Syrian government airfields. But the Congress is still hopeful.
I think the president's doing just fine with what he is promoting. I like the congressional review actions. I like the strike in Syria. I like the bunker buster bomb in Afghanistan. I like the more assertive foreign policy.
The big challenge he faces in the coming days is the North Korea situation. With the THAAD anti-missile system propped up in the south, Trump is in constant touch with President Xi Jinping of China, who has tried to calm tensions between the US and North Korea, but to little effect, as a 6th North Korean nuclear test may not be far away.
There's a chance that we could end up having a major conflict with North Korea. Absolutely.
If Trump's first 100 days prove anything, it's that politics is not business, and he still has much to learn and achieve. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's take a look at some more international news updates in Global Buzz. In Germany, lawmakers approved a package of security measures aimed at preventing extremist attacks. The measures included a partial ban on the full-face burqa. The prohibition includes public servants, election officials, military and judicial staff, and will not be allowed to wear the burqa while performing their duties. Jets believed to be either Russian or Syrian hit 2 hospitals in rebel-held Idlib province on Thursday, following several other strikes on medical facilities in northwestern Syria in recent weeks. Both Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and Russia, whose air force joined the war, denied responsibility for the strikes at hospitals. A National Party leader who was temporarily expected to replace French presidential hopeful Marine Le Pen as head of the far-right party refused the job over allegations that he made questionable comments about the Holocaust. He said he did not want to take up the post because of the allegations that he made questionable remarks about the Nazi gas chambers. Nigeria's military said at least 15 gunmen believed to be Boko Haram Islamic extremists were shot at during a battle with soldiers. Officials said the fighting occurred Thursday morning when the extremists attacked a base in the Sambisa forest in northern Nigeria. Boko Haram's extremists continue to carry out suicide bombings and other attacks in northern Nigeria, including against troop locations. Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny suffered an eye burn after an unknown assailant threw green liquid at his face. He said that the attack will not deter his anti-corruption activity in the presidential campaign. That's all in this news bulletin. Keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.